Hey guys, and welcome to Film Artsy, your number one source for all things films, movies, and Marvel. And guys, it is officially Marvel month here at Film Artsy, and today we thought it would be really interesting to do a little bit more speculation around Avengers Endgame, especially since it's getting so close to finally releasing, and we're really excited. But of course, with Avengers Endgame coming up, there's a likelihood that we're going to lose some of our favorite characters from over the years. So today, we are going to try to come up with some theories as to who we might be losing in this new movie based off of kind of some information we have from interviews and what the source material, the comics, tells us about these characters and what has happened to them in the past. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into it.
Agent Romanoff, you miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Captain, big fan, Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
So with Avengers Endgame coming up, ultimately we are likely to see the loss of at least some characters in this film. As we know, the characters who have been around for over a decade now have contracts that are mostly set to expire with Avengers Endgame or have already expired and they extended it just to do one more movie. Now, of course, contracts can always be extended, but we decided today to look back at some of the comic books as evidence to possibilities as to if or how an Avenger character might die in this upcoming film. Now, of course, in the comics, a lot of characters who are Avengers or just Marvel characters die and then are resurrected in some way or another. And we believe that a lot of the characters who probably were dusted at the end of Avengers Infinity War will probably come back, but who knows, maybe one will come back just to die again. So that's still a possibility we have in the back of our head. Of course, Captain America comes to mind when we think of characters who could possibly die in this next movie. Just as Chris Evans has been the most vocal in the fact that this will be his departure from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Still, there's a ton of speculation as to how or if this character will die, and there's a couple of theories that are out there. Of course, in the comic books, Captain America actually dies at the end of the Civil War arc. And for whatever reason, Marvel decided to keep Captain America alive through that storyline, continuing him into Infinity War and into Endgame, and maybe they were saving his death for something to be more impactful in Avengers Endgame. Now, we don't think he's going to die in a fight against Iron Man. There's bigger threats out there, but there is a possibility that he will die or sacrifice himself against Thanos, and this is definitely one of the most likely character deaths we are looking at in this movie. Now, there also is a theory that if time travel is going to play such a massive role in this new movie, like all of those theories out there suggest, maybe Captain America travels back to the late 40s or early 50s and reunites with Peggy Carter and finally gets that dance and retires from the Avengers altogether. Of course, we don't know if this is a possibility, but they have been alluding to Peggy Carter in the trailers, and maybe that would be a good way to also conclude this character without having a major character death. Alternatively, Tony Stark comes to mind as Iron Man, as a character who also could possibly be killed off in this next movie. While in the comic books, there hasn't been any massive deaths from Iron Man or on Tony Stark's behalf, there has been an instance where he was shot and paralyzed for a long period of time where he was not able to fulfill his duties as Iron Man. He actually ends up being in a wheelchair before later reconstructing a machine that allows him to walk and operate the suit again. Now, this could be a conclusion to his character, forcing his character into retirement, but it's probably unlikely because it seems like some of those ideas were incorporated into War Machine's storyline in Captain America Civil War. Still, Tony Stark's been with this movie series from the beginning, and his contract has definitely been up a couple of times and he's renewed it. And on top of all of that, he's one of the most expensive actors in the MCU and let alone all of Hollywood, and Marvel could consider writing him off, by killing off his character, especially if Avengers Endgame is supposed to mark kind of the bookend of this Infinity Saga. But we wouldn't be surprised if some sort of sacrifice is made by Iron Man, kind of mirroring the sacrifice he was willing to make in the first Avengers movie. Next up, if we're looking to Bruce Banner as a possible casualty of the Avengers Endgame aftermath, it is a possibility that this character could maybe die. However, in the comics, there's no real continuity where the Hulk is even able to die. Of course, there has been hints based off of interviews with Mark Ruffalo where he said that Avengers Endgame would mark the conclusion of a story arc that started in Thor Ragnarok with the character Hulk. And while a conclusion to a character could mean one thing, it definitely sounds like there is the possibility of them maybe writing off this character in this movie if Mark Ruffalo wants out, or maybe it's just the conclusion to one story arc that leads onto a series of other story arcs. Of course, there's also speculation that the Hulk and Bruce Banner could become separate entities altogether, which would kind of translate this long, ongoing storyline that Bruce Banner has had since the beginning in 2008, and that could be interesting to see as well. Next, we have the possibility if Thor could die in the Avengers Endgame movie that's coming up, and this one actually is a little bit interesting, mostly because for the most part in the series, Thor doesn't really die in any of the comic books. However, there is a time period where he seemingly dies after the Thor Ragnarok timeline. Essentially, as we learned in Thor Ragnarok, and which is in line with what goes on in the comics, there's a cycle of life for Asgardians called Ragnarok, and essentially in one of the comic books, Thor tries to break this cycle of life and ends up dying in the process. Now that we kind of had that conclusion with what happened in Thor Ragnarok, maybe he tries to break this cycle of life in Avengers Endgame, which would mark the conclusion of this character. Now, of course, Chris Hemsworth, who has also gone on record stating how many movies he was signed on to do, and stating that he was pretty much done after Avengers Endgame, this was still years ago, and he probably had the chance to renew his contract if he wanted to, and if Marvel wanted him to move forward, but we still don't really know at this point. Next, we can look to Hawkeye, who actually wasn't even in Infinity War, but we know he's going to play a major role in Avengers Endgame. Now, he's a minor enough character who could still die and not necessarily break the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe or the vibe of the universe, and his sacrifice would still be pretty hard hitting on fans, especially the way they've developed his character over the years and the longevity he's had since appearing in the first Thor movie. Even in the comic books, he has died multiple times. In one instance, he dies trying to take down a Kree warship, which fortunately Wanda is able to manipulate time and rescue him and save him from his death. And this just kind of starts a string of him actually dying again, and then getting him resurrected again, and then dying again and being resurrected again. It's kind of a weird storyline, but definitely a possibility that maybe Jeremy Renner is just kind of tired of being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or at the very least, maybe they need to have a character to make a sacrifice that isn't as major of a character in the same way that Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are, kind of like how Agent Coulson in Avengers died. It was a pretty hard hit for fans everywhere. We can also look to Vision if he is somehow resurrected again, which is a possibility because technically he already died in Infinity War, then was resurrected, and then killed again by Thanos. So we wouldn't be surprised if somehow he's resurrected again. However, in the comic books, there is a storyline where he dies, and while he's kind of resurrected, his mind is completely wiped and has no recollection of anything that happened before, and even doesn't remember his relationship with the Scarlet Witch, which essentially makes him a different person, meaning that the Vision that we knew and loved and that we had kind of gotten to know over the years isn't really there anymore, and that's essentially a character death because it's a new Vision, not the same Vision. Of course, there's a ton of other characters that also could possibly die that we haven't even scratched the surface of. The Guardians of the Galaxy are actually finally renewed for a third movie after all that controversy, so we wouldn't be too surprised if all of them somehow make it out alive, if anyone was to die, maybe Drax would be the one candidate, just because Dave Bautista went on record that he was really upset with the firing of James Gunn, and maybe that made Disney upset and they want to write that character off. But at the same time, James Gunn is back on board, so maybe he's happy again and they won't kill that character off. But as far as plot's concerned, we really don't know who would be written off or on for this. Nebula has gone through a really interesting redemption arc so far, and seeing her team up with the Avengers is really cool, but after Thanos is defeated, or if he is defeated, we don't really know what type of role she'll be able to play as this kind of anti-hero turned good character, and she might have fulfilled her purpose, and maybe she could have a redemption sacrifice, and she might be a character that we lose. War Machine could also be at risk of dying, even though he was almost a casualty at the end of Avengers Civil War, but they seem to want to keep him alive for some reason. But if Tony Stark is killed off, there does need to be someone to kind of fulfill that Iron Man role maybe in the team, and maybe since he's not really one of the top build actors as much, they can still keep that character around in spirit to some extent if Tony Stark is killed off, and Rhodey is kind of an interesting character. There's also a lot of speculation around whether or not Rhodey and Banner are Skrulls. I mean, their appearances have changed, as they're the two main characters who have been recasted at the beginning of the MCU, so maybe they'll do something interesting with that in the future. It's a pretty far-fetched theory, but it's kind of funny to think about too. Alright, and that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below, be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on, and leave a comment down below with which character you least want to die. Who do you need to see survive this next movie for you to be happy? Let us know down below, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video.
And so, while it wasn't terra firma there for a while, my enthusiasm and excitement and passion is certainly there for where we're at now and what Peyton's going to do. So,
and excitement and passion is certainly.
What's up? Are you a baby?
Oh wow.
Are you Avery? You're a pretty girl. Yes. Are you happy?
Hey guys, we hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure you guys hit the like button down below and subscribe for more Film Artsy. If you guys want to showcase your talent to the world, Film Artsy is the best place for you guys to do it. Please submit your videos to filmartsyofficial@gmail.com, or you guys can click the link in the description. We really want to see what kind of talent you guys can provide. So let us know, send us an email, and we'll check out your videos, and we'll see you all in the next video.
I'm about to.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hi.
See you guys.
Know anybody?